Growth doesn't happen when you learn something. It happens when you apply it. You can listen to every episode of this series, nod along, think that's good, and wake up tomorrow exactly the same person that you were before you pressed play. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. Most people do it. Or you can take one thing, one principle, and actually use it. Put it somewhere in your life where it actually changes something, because that's how it works. You don't need all 8 at once. You just need one. That's your next step. When this series started, the point wasn't to build a tribute to Kobe Bryant, as great as I think he is. The point was to answer a harder question. What does greatness look like for a parent, for a leader, for a friend, for an ordinary person who may never touch an NBA floor? What does the next possession look like for you and for me? Over the last 8 episodes, we've talked through the Mamba Mentality, the 8 principles that I believe made Kobe one of the best competitors that ever lived. The deeper question underneath all of it has been this: why do these principles actually work? So, what this finale is going to do is go back through each principle and connect it to what the research says and end each one with a single question. A question that you can sit with, a question that you can answer honestly, and it might be the thing that moves you forward. Wherever you are right now, one of these is your next possession. Let's find it. A psychologist named Anders Ericsson spent a decade studying world-class performers across multiple domains: musicians, athletes, chess players, surgeons. He wanted to know what actually separated the best from everyone else. His answer wasn't talent. It wasn't even hours. It was the quality of attention inside of the hours. He called it deliberate practice, focused, specific work that targets your weakness instead of reinforcing what you're already good at. Follow-on research has shown that sustained, focused practice is associated with real changes in the brain and in the nervous system over time. So Kobe, as a kid in Italy, wearing out those VHS tapes of John Battle, Kobe rebuilding his training after 4 air balls because he diagnosed the real problem, Kobe in the gym at 2 a.m. because the season was still running in his head. Every obsessive hour wasn't just building skill, it was rebuilding identity. The obsession wasn't a personality quirk. It was a technology, and it's available to you. So what is one area in your work or your life where you've been putting in hours without putting in attention? And what would actually change this month or this week if you flip that? People in flow states have reported being dramatically more productive than they are outside of them, with some widely cited estimates putting the gain as high as 500%. That sounds impossible until you understand what's actually happening in the brain. When someone is completely locked in, the part of the mind associated with self-consciousness and second guessing gets quieter. The voice asking, what if I fail? What do people think? Am I good enough? It loses volume. What's left is just you and the work. Kobe built towards that state deliberately. 250 shots in an empty arena before every game. Same routine, same silence, same tunnel, built before the noise arrived. He didn't hope to get locked in. He constructed the conditions for it. And you can do the same thing. Maybe not with 250 jumpers, but with a repeatable way of entering your work. Locked in isn't a feeling that shows up. It's a state that you build toward through routine, through repetition, through showing up the same way enough times that the tunnel opens on its own. What simple routine could you build right now that puts you in the right mental state before the work begins? And what story are you telling yourself that's stopping you from starting it today? Psychologists studying adversity expected the people who recovered the best to be the ones who felt the least fear. But research on post-traumatic growth showed something more interesting. Some people don't just recover from hard experiences, they grow beyond where they were before. And the people most likely to experience that growth were not always the ones protected from the hard thing. They were the ones who went through it, who let it land, who went back to the exact spots. 4 air balls. With the whole country watching, he drove to a high school gym in the middle of the night and shot jumpers from the exact spots where he had missed. Every time you go back to the spot, you're building evidence that failure is survivable. And eventually, the fear doesn't go away. It just stops running your life. So, what's the shot that you've stopped taking? And if you knew for a fact that the failure was survivable, what would you do this week that you're not doing right now? Neuroscientists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on what it repeatedly pays attention to. Every time you practice something with full attention, every time you notice what others miss and act on it, your brain forms and refines pathways that make that level of seeing more natural. The person who finds the details others miss isn't seeing a different world. They've built different hardware for processing the same world. Kobe felt a 1/4 inch on a rim. He read the referee's handbook and found dead zones. He mapped Iverson's tendencies down to the exact minute of each quarter. Anyone can become good doing the main things. You become great obsessing over the little things, the tone in the email, the extra rep on the deck, the follow-up nobody asked for, but that everybody remembers. Where in your work are the details you've been skipping? And what would finding your 1/4 inch actually change in the way people experience you? Carol Dweck's work on growth and fixed mindsets helped clarify a powerful truth. What you compete against shapes how far you grow. People who compete primarily against other people often plateau. When they're ahead, they stop pushing, and when they're behind, they can lose belief. People who compete against a standard keep growing because the standard does not have a ceiling. And that's why Kobe went full speed at shoot-arounds while his teammates laughed. He was the only one not laughing. He wasn't trying to beat anyone. He was holding a standard all the time, especially when nobody was watching. That's what people actually follow. What standard are you actually competing against right now? And if you're honest, is it high enough to take you where you say that you want to go? For a long time, researchers believed the brain was essentially fixed after a certain age. They were wrong. Adult brains remain plastic throughout life. The capacity to build new neural pathways, to learn new skills, to fundamentally change how you operate, it does not expire, but it does require challenge. Kobe took tap dancing lessons at 18 so that his footwork would be ready when his legs weren't. At 37, on a repaired Achilles, he scored 60 points in his final game on a craftsman's game that he had been building his entire career. The capacity for growth doesn't expire. Only the decision to pursue it does. So what version of yourself is expired, and what does the next one need that you haven't started building yet? Angela Duckworth spent years trying to understand what predicts long-term success. Her answer was grit, passion, and perseverance sustained over time. Grit isn't fixed. Every time you push through something hard instead of stopping, you're building it. Every time you stay in the difficulty, you become someone with more capacity to stay in the next one. Kobe came back from the Achilles, then the meniscus, then the fractured tibia. 3 times, the reasonable thing was to stop. 3 times, he decided the story wasn't over. Anything worth doing is hard. That is true in business, in parenting, in leadership, in healing, in faith. The people who find what's on the other side usually aren't the most gifted. They're the ones who kept going the longest. What are you close to giving up on that might be right at the point where it breaks open? And what would it take to stay in it one more day or even one more week? Researchers at Harvard found that emotional states and behaviors can spread through social networks up to 3 degrees of separation. 3 degrees. Your investment in one person reaches people you will never meet in ways you will never fully trace. When Dr. Green looked at me and said, "You can do this," he wasn't just investing in me, he was investing in everyone that I would ever lead, raise, or pour into, including the people that they would pour into after that. That's what Kobe Bryant understood in his final years. The footwork he gave Kawhi, the belief he poured into Gianna, the books for children he'd never meet, even his last public act, a post celebrating LeBron passing his scoring record with genuine joy. He was pouring everything out. And what I love is that every bit of it is still moving. Who in your life needs you to believe in them before they believe in themselves? And when did you last tell them? That's it. 8 principles, 1 philosophy. Obsession, focus, fearlessness, details, competitiveness, adaptability, resilience, and investment in others. Kobe didn't invent any of them. He just decided that they would be the way that he played every possession of his life, on the court and off the court, in the dark and in the light, at the shoot-around and in the finals, in rehab and on the sidelines coaching his daughter. And what the research tells us is that every single one works across domains when people apply them with intention and consistency. The Mamba Mentality was never about becoming Kobe Bryant. It was about deciding what kind of person you're going to be, and then being that person all the time, in every moment, especially the ones nobody sees. You don't need all 8. You just need one. The one that's your next possession. The one that, if you applied starting today, would change something real in your work, in your home, in your relationships. So go apply it. The goal is to build a life that builds more than just things and entities, but people. That is the kind of impact that outlasts titles, metrics, and moments. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next one.